All right, my full name is John, middle initial I, which is Irving Holden. And I was born January 17th, 1921. I think it was 1942. I was going to college, and I enlisted while I was there, and I was deferred for a year so I could graduate. Went to Fort Belvoir in Virginia, engineering school there. Well, you were trained to do things that had to be done, like building bridges, like a Bailey Bridge, or you put them together like an erector set on a big scale. You'd push them out and hook another piece to it and push them out until it got across the stream, and then you hooked it up on the other side. So they sent me up to Camp Shenango, which was up in northwestern Pennsylvania. After 3 months, they found an opening for me in this engineering 660th Engineers Battalion, which was stationed at the time outside of London. When I left to Shenango, they shipped me down to Fort Hamilton, which is in Brooklyn, and I came home and saw my folks for a day or two, and they knew I was going out overseas. And my dad was well at the time, but a year later, when I was still overseas, he got very sick. And while I was overseas, he died, passed on. So I never did see him after I saw him before I went overseas. And we actually shipped out of Hoboken on a ship called the Ile-de-France, a big ocean liner which I had converted into a troop ship. When I was a kid, I always used to get seasick in a rowboat, any kind of boat. As soon as I got on the ship and I knew I was on the ocean, I started to get seasick. I said, my gosh, I'm not going to get seasick again. I think it's mind over matter, which it later turned out to be. And we got there, we went up the Firth of Clyde, I believe it was, Scotland. And that was a beautiful sight, just beautiful. We took the trade down into England, and we were stationed at a little town called King's Standing. About a week, I guess we were there. Then we landed down in Kew, England, and we joined that outfit. And they had a drafting company which actually drew the maps, and they had to be put on a plate which had to go through the rollers in the printing press, because they had what they called offset press.
Of the 8,000 bombs launched, 2,300 penetrated British defenses, most of them falling in the London vicinity.
Maybe a month or so before the invasion, they started shooting these buzz bombs over. They just came over at random towards London, and they would land anywhere. The first time they came over, we thought they were planes. Then they finally found out that a couple of days later they found out they were shooting these bombs with wings on them, which they could aim in a general direction. Our side had a place in London near the coast where they could monitor these things and get a path that they were coming. And if they were coming toward our barracks, for instance, they'd hit 3 bells, would ring. Then we're supposed to go into the shelter because it's a possibility that it would hit us. And then we got a little nonchalant, and the 3 bells would ring, and we wouldn't go into shelter anymore. We'd go out and watch the thing go by. Over maybe a half a mile or a mile away, you see this bomb going by. One Sunday morning, the 3 bells rang. The guy says, "It's going to hit." Then everybody jumped for the shelter. And the nearest I jumped onto my bunk. And the thing did hit.
Those are your bunks in England?
That's right. That's the bunks.
Uh-huh. Cool.
That's what I dove under when the bomb hit.
Right.
One of those. And it hit the guard room where the officer of the day was stationed and killed him. Then there was another guy, sergeant, he was standing on the chow line, and a pipe came down and killed him. And we went out and slept in the shelter then. let's not play around anymore. Then while we were out there being safe in the shelter, we heard these other explosions, off in the distance at first. The gas main must have exploded somewhere. Then another one exploded. Then another one. And you know how wise guys can be, GIs can be wise. Oh, it must be a flying gas main. Then we found out that what they were the V2s. So then we didn't bother sleeping in the shelter anymore because we figured, well, what's the use? When airplanes would go on missions over France, which we were making maps of at the time, they'd fly a pattern as best they could because they were under fire. But you know what a stereoscope is, where you look through two images and they merge and make it, and you can see that it's a building, or you can see that it's a bridge.
Two overlapping prints, called a stereo pair, are placed under a stereoscope to get depth of vision. In this case, Smitty has to move the two prints until objects on them focus and form one image.
Anyway, we went about our business making the maps. While we were up there at night, all these planes were going over. It seemed like 1,000 planes. And it was kind of a creepy feeling. That's the invasion, D-Day. And it was. Then after they liberated Paris, they sent a group of guys from our big outfit over to find a place to set up shop. So I happened to be in one of them, and we went over and we had to land on the beach just like everyone else, but there was no war going on there. And then we had to drive into Paris, which is about 100 miles away. And of course we could see all the damage was done to the towns all the way along the way. So we got up into Paris, we looked around and found a place, and it was a little children's school. So we made that into our barracks. I think this is me and my buddy and another pal. His name is Sagastano.
And you're in the middle?
Yeah, I'm in the middle. And that's Johnson. Maybe less than a mile away was a big building where they printed a magazine. It had a printing plant in it, so our battalion took that over. Where we went to work, we had to get a drive over with a GI truck for this, about a half a mile or so, over to this building from our little barracks. And then what Patton would do, he would capture German maps, send them back. They'd take a picture of them, make the plates, zinc plates, and for the different colors, and run them off and send them back. When the war was over, we had time on our hands for a while. Then we had dances. These are all the girls they invited over from, I guess a lot of them were British girls from the WAFs, I guess. So they'd come over and they'd have a dance or something. We landed over in France about 3 months after D-Day. That was 1944, and I shipped out of Paris up to Germany on January 1st, 1946. And then in 3 months I was up in Germany in Munich. I had to be there because they put you have to have so many points to get eligible to go. Your turn came when you had so many points. So I didn't have enough at the time to go, so they set me with another guy from our outfit till our time came. Up in Germany it was more or less fun because we could get a pass every weekend into Garmisch-Partenkirchen, which is in the Alps to the south. So we'd go down on this buddy of mine that was stationed up there with me, went down, put up in a beautiful chalet. They took us up to the mountaintop on a tram ride or whatever it is, sky lift. We went skating, we went skiing, took little trips, and I even went on a toboggan run, on the Olympic toboggan run with a couple of German guys, one in front and one in back. So after 3 months, they sent us up to to Bremen, up north, and we shipped out in about 2 weeks from there. And came back, not in a big ship like the Ile-de-France, but a little ship called a Victory ship. And it was called the Pittston, Pittston, Victory ship. And right on the north, as soon as we got on the North Sea, they had a big storm. And I said, well, I'm not going to get seasick, and I didn't. Everybody else was getting seasick and me. And when we tried to feed us on a table where the food was set on the table, you sat down on the table to eat, the only thing we could eat was peanut butter, crackers, and soup. And we sit down to eat, and it would slide down and back and forth, and nobody was eating. But I was able to eat, and everybody was sick. I was standing up reading a book, and it was amazing. I never got seasick since. It was mind over matter.